Well, hello and welcome back for another episode of Little Learners on the Go. I'm very excited today. I have my two sons with me. Um, what's your name? and,
Evan.
and Evan. And, as we continue to bring you all content, I wanted to, sometimes if we can look at things from the future and then kind of go back, it can help our perspectives, I believe. And so I really wanted to talk today about homeschooling versus private school versus public school. And so I want you as parents to hear my son's perspective so that you can maybe, it'll help you navigate as you go about, um, you know, choosing educational options for your children. So, um, they're both in college now, right?
Yeah.
And I'm repping today. I'm repping Stevenson University where they go. But Jane, what year are you in?
I'm in my junior year.
And what's your major?
Film and movie image.
Okay.
I'm in my sophomore year and I'm a graphic design major.
All right. Awesome. So let's talk about. I actually homeschooled them for what, 2 years?
Yeah.
2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 years? Yeah, it was about those.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a little longer.
You know what? You may have been like a year ahead because I think I did kindergarten with you, and then I sent you to school. So
That's what you did.
yeah, I did a little bit of kindergarten, and then I was like, "Oh, you gotta go." And then so he went to. You did go to public for a little bit. You went to a public charter school. Um, so and then after that we homeschool. So let's talk about Jada first. When you went to, and then you all went to public school for like 2 more years, I think, or a year.
Which one was the public?
Imagine was the charter, and then the other public was Francis T. The will let you know what's really going on. So let's kind of talk about, let's deal with the homeschooling piece first. All right. And parents, this is something I want you to know. Like, as a parent, you're an advocator. And so you take this role and you help navigate, your child's education. And so, because of the area we were in at the time and some things I learned as I was getting my own degree, I felt the need with two African American males, Black men, to chart their path because of the statistics, in the school system where we were living, right? So you may be in a district or whatever that does not have a great school system. So I just want you to know you have options, okay? So let's talk about homeschooling. How was that for you guys? You want to tell your own story?
I mean, I enjoyed homeschooling for what it was. I was home, so I mean, I was I don't know. Like I felt sometimes because we had the office, and like when you'd be like, "Go in there, do your work," and then you would shut the door, and like I would just constantly like watch like the sun go down just a little bit. I'd just be sitting there. I can't interact. It was weird. Now that I look back on it, I don't like it.
Okay.
Because I missed interacting with like people. Because like
in the school setting, because you were in a lot of extracurricular activities as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was just weird because I'm like, I don't know who any of these people are, and because like we used the Becca, and like with the Becca, it was like the teacher was like,
"Oh yeah, that was fun."
You, and then I was like, "Yeah, me," and then like it would pan out to all the like the kids in the class. I'm like, I don't know anybody in there. I literally just think I was like, I don't know a soul in there, and it was like not only that, but it was just strange because I don't think on a Becca there was a lot of black kids either.
There were.
I don't think there was a lot of black kids. So I'm sitting there like, man, I have to really disassociate to really like understand. And even then, like, I'm not gonna lie, I did not pay attention half the time. Like I'm sitting there,
what?
I'm tapping, I'm drawing, I don't know if I had a phone or something by then, but if I did,
No, you didn't.
Because it was
I
like
didn't have
from
one.
first to second grade that you were there.
Yeah, I homeschooled him from first to second.
All I
So
know
my
is
dynamic was a little different. If you're a homeschooling parent and you can just dedicate that solely that time, then I think it's a little different. For me, I had the business but I don't I know you didn't like that part of it, and I agree that I mean you all have to look at curriculums, whether they're in private, public, or your homeschooling. You're gonna have to look at curriculums and make changes and adaptations to it. And I think that is big.
So did you do that with me? Did you change up the curriculum?
Not to the degree in regards to like math and the reading or the English, but I did try to not just have you, the way I did it was I ordered the curriculum, they could watch it via the video. Or no, I think at that time it was a DVD or video. Oh my gosh, I'm dating myself.
It was, it was like online.
I think so it was back then, but with some of the things I really tried to give you, especially when it came to the reading. I feel like we had more one-on-one interactions, right? I would sit and nestle with you and just like, all right, read to you, that kind of thing. So I feel like there were some pros to it for me. One was the dynamic of where we were, even financially, what our options were at the time. And then two, especially for you, my youngest, he's never been a morning person. He totally gets it, honestly, from me. And so having to get up so early when you went to the public school was horrible for you. Yeah. It was really bad. And because I don't know why they make young kids get up that early, but it just didn't work for you. And I felt like that was torture for you, for us, for the teacher. And I didn't think it was the best fit for you at the time.
Yeah, no. But like, to your point about why they make kids wake up that early, they're not really concerned about the individual needs of kids. A lot of the time, they want you to fit into a box, and they want like kids to like learn a specific way. Like if I were to like stand and everyone was to sit and I'm still retaining the information, they don't care that I'm retaining the information. They just care that I'm standing out amongst the other kids. So it doesn't really matter how you're taking in the information to them, as long as you're doing what's outside of what they expect, then it's not what they want.
Wow. Yeah, that is an excellent point, because being in this profession for 19 years now, I've always said that. That's why I love early childhood education the most, because I feel like we have this freedom, this luxury to create and give this innovative way of thinking. But the unfortunate piece of that, it gets dampened, or, when you go to school. And so that was something that I never wanted for you all. Even when I homeschooled you, certain things, I didn't necessarily make you watch the video. I would teach you a different way, because the beautiful thing about homeschooling is your children already. Like he's different and he's different. And so I was able to do some things with you when it came to history, your favorite, not so favorite subject back then. I don't know about now, but it wasn't mine either, which I expressed to you. But I got to engage you more. I feel like I got to, I try to make it fun. And we would stay up just because you were homeschooled. I made you work. You agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, I made you work. So how did you feel about homeschooling?
It was interesting because before then, because I went to public school for pre-K, I believe. Or not pre-K, kindergarten. Yeah, it was kindergarten. So then having to go back for first grade, it was interesting because that was my first kind of real experience with school. So it was weird because I didn't have like the foresight that he kind of did. And it was interesting. I felt like I was able to focus. I didn't really have that much of a problem because, like, again, like I only really had that year to really know what school was like at a public school. So going back to what I had known, which was the way you taught, wasn't really that big of an adjustment for me, I would say. Like I kind of had that social aspect already in the daycare.
Yeah, you all had a major social aspect, I think, just from the child care being in early childhood settings, because Jaden, you went to an early childhood, you went to a child care prior to me opening the business. So you all, I always tried to make sure, me and your dad, and I'm speaking from my perspective in regards to the home, you know, just being like the educator, like being with them. Don't get me wrong, my husband taught them a lot of things. But just being the one to kind of help navigate the education, and then he would definitely give his input whenever and always. So there's a lot to that. Like I said, I still spend the time. You're going to be spending time with your children, whether they're, doing homework and everything, whether they are in a homeschool setting, public school or private school. I remember when they were homeschooling, I also got them a tutor. So I always tried to make sure that I didn't, the reasoning for me homeschooling was not to hoard my children to me. It was more so of the educational system, like you were talking about. And I think there's a fundamental breakdown in the educational system concerning that for children, seriously. And we are seeing it, which is very, very unfortunate. Let's talk about, we talked about homeschooling. So public, let's hop to public for a second. So you both went to public school, and how did you like that experience?
I mean, at the time, like I think it was jarring because the switch is something, because to go from being in the comfort of my house with like this, like that being my day to day, like it's already my day to day because I live there, but it's like to go from my day to day and then to be exposed to like so many different walks of life in children, or like, fellow kids, because it wasn't just kids my age group, it was kids older than me too. And true. I think that was really weird for me. Like I felt like I felt weirdly seen, but like at the same time I didn't, because getting on the bus, because like we had kids in our neighborhood, I'm not gonna say his name, but like he still lives over there, and like we would, when we lived over there, I would still wave to him, which is really funny. But even then, it was like we never had that like, I don't know, we never like had that like friendship continue. But even then, it was like, I'll never forget that day on the bus. It was like the bus is like a class in and of itself. The bus is it's literally a classroom. The bus is a classroom full of different students, and it's so funny. It's before care. That's literally all it is. And you have so many different interactions on the bus, or like going to school or coming home, and it teaches you stuff as well, which I think is really interesting. I don't regret the bus. I think the bus taught me a lot. But I mean, it was weird because the bus is when I would only see those people. And then like I would get to class and everything was a blur. I don't remember much about Francis T, except for like the occasional, like conversations I had, or like certain experiences that, shaped who I am. But
the bus is a classroom in itself. But that's a good point. And I think parents need to know that, because, we don't always know what's going on the bus, unless you all tell us, or you all, the parents have a relationship or build a relationship with the bus driver. So I think that's a great point. How was public school for you?
kind of similar to what he was saying. Just it was jarring. It was definitely different way of kind of interacting with people, having to like, because like you had this like connection and like this kind of foundation built with like the people back home, and then like having to like meet new people and like kind of having to like adjust socially, because like it's like a different dynamic, because like at the daycare would be people older than me and people younger than me, but like in this classroom it's like a direct set of like peers, I would guess, or would say. So yeah, just kind of navigating that and like having like a different style of learning and like being in a completely different like social setting. It was interesting. It was different. And yeah, like he said,
The bus.
the bus was
His own
entirely
classroom.
Did
different.
we ride the same bus?
Yes,
Yeah, we
you
did.
did.
We did ride the same bus.
You know, with the home, now I've heard that plenty of times, and I was aware of that there is a, like you said, it's jarring for students when they are, they've homeschooled and then they go into this public or private setting. It's very jarring because now you're in a classroom. And I think that's why I wanted to make sure, even though it was still jarring, I'm sorry about that. That wasn't the reason I did it. But it's very important when you are homeschooling to make sure your child has other social interactions with children outside of you, outside of the home. And one misnomer about children being homeschooled is that they don't know how to have social interactions. You all are very social at a young age. But I had that, I had the childcare, and then, just I had the information and the knowledge. You all did swimming, and oh my goodness, I had you all sports. We had you in swimming and sports and as many things as I could possible to engage you all socially with other people, other children rather. It's very important when you're homeschooling. Let me note that. You all agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So you heard it from them and not just from me. Okay, and about the public school, we understand. So let's kind of dive into the private setting for a second, because you were homeschooled for a little bit, and then you went to public. You both went to public, and then
We got homeschooled.
Homeschool for 2 years. I homeschooled you all for 2 years. You were, no, by this time you were first and second.
First and second, then I went to
And you were third
fourth.
and fourth. Oh my gosh, it was so hard. That's why it's so important to have tutors, because after a while I had no clue what I was doing. So I think it's important to know, if you don't know what you're doing, parents, even if you're homeschooling or whatever school setting you have them at, get them a tutor. Help yourself, help them, help everybody. Oh my gosh. So, and your work got much more, not aggressive, but it wasn't aggressive. It was not
so
the right
aggressive.
word.
It was so aggressive I cheated.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, we're going you were, well, like, you could do that.
I was like, I can't do this.
With what, history?
Yes.
What's the word? I'm not looking for aggressive.
Like a pile going.
Yeah, it was just.
It was a heavy workload.
Yeah, thank you, son. I knew you had some words. But it was a very heavy workload. Oh yeah, Bible, you did. You were horrible.
Man, Bible, history, and I feel like there was one more. It was just a combination of them. And I would have it was like the way Abeka was. I promise you, there was sometimes I was like, I tried to skip it a little bit. I was like, okay.
That was why you didn't know.
But sometimes it didn't work. Like sometimes they wouldn't let you. You get those ads and they just don't let you skip it. That's what it was like. But it was like, it would be like, okay, if I had Bible and then maybe reading after.
But you could choose the way to do your lessons. I gave them some autonomy in the way you did the lessons. Which I think is a good thing.
The problem, I don't know. I forgot how like the selecting process, but
Bible was always first.
I always found myself just being like, that's how that's how I started the day, and then like somehow history would be how like towards the end of the day, and I was like, no, this just doesn't work. But I mean,
you didn't have history yet because you were first and second.
Yeah.
You gotta. And the curriculum that I used was very even though it didn't maybe have that diversity with the video, it was a very I can't think of the word right now. The curriculum was amazing in regards to being academically challenging. Yeah, it was. It really challenged you. And I don't know if you could agree to that.
I don't remember.
Okay, not a problem. But I know for a fact it challenged you. It was very challenging, and the grading system with Abeka was very. It was on the level of like some private schools. So because of the grading system, they graded, I think, on a 7-point scale. I think a 7-point scale instead of 10, like public school. So that was pretty big too. But in regards to you all, your language and literacy and comprehension, I think it was so robust in what it offered. And so that's what I would suggest if you're homeschooling, make sure that it's, a robust curriculum that is helping your child to learn. And, even phonetically, you all learning to read and things, it was just amazing. I mean, I still see it to this day and I'm like, wow, that foundation was set. And so it's so important. So let's talk about private. Who wants to go first?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do. So private again was also an adjustment because it was a lot different than public school, where it felt like there was a form of, I don't want to say negligence because I don't want to.
It's okay. Some of it's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
I'm sure there was some, but while it felt like there was this air of just getting the job done and not really caring at public, private was a matter of them almost being too concerned about what you're doing and how you're doing it, where I felt like there was this kind of, you have to do it this way, this is set in stone, this is our tradition, and you have to stick to it. Because I hate the assignment book principle, 3 stamps and you get a detention. Mm-hmm. Such a terrible way of correcting behavior, because it incentivized you to not want to try anything. They would stamp you for dumb things. You forget a book that you could easily get so easily, and they're just, nope, that's a stamp right there. And it's supposed to incentivize you to do better, but instead of having a conversation with you or being or even finding workarounds, because I remember that I was sharing a book with a classmate and they were perfectly fine to help with me and share the information, and we were reading along, and someone just went ahead and told, and it was this person does, or they don't have their book, and I got a stamp for that, and that led to a detention. And it's just dumb, because they wouldn't have noticed, and I was still retaining the information. But it's like I said, if you're doing what they don't want you to do at any given time, they'll just
Okay, so this was the Catholic school.
This was
They went to a Catholic school.
This
We
was,
will,
yeah.
that will remain nameless. So once they were homeschooled, they went to a Catholic school for. Ooh, you went for from 3rd through 8th.
Yeah.
And then you went from 5th through 8th. Now, I know it was a major adjustment for you because you were going into middle school, which is a whole nother gamut all by itself. It's like a whole, like you said, that bus was a classroom. Middle school is like, I don't know how to describe middle school. Middle school is like the funkiest time. I feel like it's funkier than high school, honestly, but that's speaking from, no, high school is more funky than.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
High school is funky.
Well, for some people, it depends. If you're like,
well, Evan, you had it a breeze because Evan was
I minded my business. I didn't.
but you were transitioned during the pandemic into high school.
Yeah.
So you were home.
Yeah.
Evan had the best of both worlds. He was homeschooling in a sense, or in private school online. Like he had it good.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to stay there for as long as possible. I was at a good state.
You were, and you stayed. I allowed you. The school, they allowed them to stay an additional year during that time. Yeah. And that was like one of your heart's desires. And so I allowed him. I didn't make him go because I'd already homeschooled him. And I feel like you do want to have a level, not you as the parent, but as much as possible, give your child a level of autonomy in regards to their education. That's my perspective. That is just because I've seen it, so I know sometimes you may feel like you don't have options, parents, and that's why we do this, so you can have tips and tools and resources to know that you do have options. I never knew about homeschooling. I only went to school, but I didn't know that was an option. And so to give you all that, really just, and for some military families, that might be your best option is homeschooling. For some military families, it's not. I think at the time it is what works for your family dynamic, but you also have to be looking at the long-term effects of whatever you decide, whatever, parents. So talk about private with you. Okay, which did you like? Catholic private or Christian private?
Christian.
Yeah, Christian private. Because, like, to Evan's point about like public school was like so like they disassociate with like the fact that these are my kids. They're just kind of like, here's what this is, here's what that is, do it. And some teachers are different, but like it was I don't remember any of my teachers from public school.
Wow.
And I think that says a lot.
That's a travesty.
Yeah, they didn't leave a mark at all. And it was like everybody was the same. They were blueprint teachers. They were just like, here's what this is, here's what that is. I'm just coming to do my job and earn my money. I don't know any of you. It is what it is. They didn't form any connection. However, at like Catholic school, I'll say this, there was some people who formed a connection with you, but to a fault. Like there was a lot of teachers there that just did a lot. And again, to Evan's point about like the stamp system, I was infamous for getting stamps. I didn't care. But it was also like, I'm also the kind of person who's like, Evan is very comfortable with like, okay, this is what you want me to do. Cool, I'll do that. And that's good. Me, however, man, and it was all like, to around the time.
You're a rebel.
Oh yeah. Around the time period that it was, especially, and going into middle school, like my mom said, it was like, man, no, this is not it. And it was just like, there was a lot of teachers that they would say their thing and I would be like, cool, I hear that, but no. And it's like, they weren't okay with being told no. And I think that's something that was the issue also, because adults aren't always right. And I think that that was like their biggest issue. And I had no problem telling you that you weren't right. And I think that's what they didn't like. And I was cool with like getting the stamps and getting the demerits and yada yada, because it was like all of that to me just like, and I think that also goes into like the environmental thing of like going from homeschool and going to public school, is that like going from those two things, I ended up developmentally, I ended up discovering that I was like, man, it's okay to be myself. Right. Like, it's okay to like not care what people have to say. And mind you, they had already told me don't bend or break for anybody. So carrying all of that, especially since like, and you know, that could be like, I don't take that as a sense of entitlement in any way, because I was like, you know, I held myself to a certain standard. And granted, I was doing like, I would always like, sometimes I would push the boundary, push the envelope, which is, you know, that was demerit worthy and stuff like that. However, there were also some things where I was like, no. Yeah. Sometimes I left my book. Mind you, there's spares in the corner. You can hand me that. But they didn't want to do that. They want to be like, you need it's about responsibility. Dude, I'm 12. Like, it's like, talk to me. Like, I'm 12. You're 30. We shouldn't be arguing. And it's like, or like, oh, I was 13 or whatever, however old I was. And then like I mellowed out in 8th grade, but 7th grade was where it really kicked off, because it's like, I feel like that was the most influential part of my life, where it was like, this is 7th grade. I'm transferring into 8th. Now I need to start thinking about what I'm going to do after, like going into high school. And it's like, you know, where am I going? And it's like, you know, I think that was just so weird, because like there was obviously teachers that I formed that relationship with, where I was like, I like you, we get along, we're cool. But there was always that one where it was like, we just wouldn't gel, especially like if you had like if you weren't cool with your homeroom teacher. And I know they were talking smack about people, like the students. I just know it, because there's no way that I'm going from my homeroom class to the other side of the classroom and then they have the same opinion about me, even though I act two different ways in the classroom. It just didn't make any sense. And I literally remember like one day, like I was in the classroom sitting at my desk. You had a signed desk, by the way. And it was like, it was also, and you see what I'm saying? It was like, it was also structured, and you never really were allowed to break the structure part. And, you know, and again, it's like the uniform is a prime example of, you cannot break structure. You're missing a part of it. Like your blazer's unbuttoned. Your blazer's unbuttoned. You want some individuality. You're wearing the blazer, but your blazer's not buttoned. Problem. That's crazy. Yeah. Even though I'm wearing the blazer, fashion's not like, it's like, okay, yeah, you're doing everything. You know, it's hot. Your shirt's untucked still though. You're getting this. You see what I'm saying? It's like, you're not allowed to break that. And it was really crazy. I literally remember sitting at my desk, and then I remember I think I did something to my homeroom teacher. She opened the door, because like, I guess like no names, but she opened the door, and the other teacher, he was like dismissing students to go to the next class, and all of it was like, it was just a hall, and all the classrooms were on like different individual sides of the hall. So everybody, like, it was like clockwork. You would leave, go to this one, leave, go down here, and come back. And then it was like, it was like military camp. It was like a military. And it was like, but he opened the door, and she was just like, hey, so Jaden's not allowed to da-da-da. Cool, got it.
Wow.
And it was just like, I'm right here, by the way. And that's what made me just be like, got it. I need to disassociate. If y'all are going to disassociate, I need to do the same thing. And I think that's where like the disregard came from in regards to my behavior, where I was like, I was just like, if this is how it's going to be, then I need to, then this is how I'm going to act. If y'all are already thinking that I'm going to act that way, why would I just not act that way? I can't prove y'all wrong, because if I try to prove y'all wrong, I'm going to get a stamp anyway. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to get a stamp. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm just going to do it.
But to your point, you weren't a rebel. It's just that we've always told you, giving you, you know, built your confidence up, allowed you all to express yourselves respectfully. Mm-hmm. And so with that, this is, you know, what, you know, but which is not a bad thing. No. It's really not a bad thing, because you're allowing your child, parents to, I want to speak from the parent aspect and the educator, right? So you're giving your children a form of autonomy. You're allowing them to express themselves because, again, at that time, I always say children are just little people, right? They still have feelings, they have emotions, they have concerns, they have everything that we feel as adults, right? And so as an educator, you are allowing your child to critically think. These are skills that you will need throughout life. And so now I look at you all in school, in college, and I'm like, you all know how to navigate life. And I think we have to understand that. So when you're making these choices for your children, I mean, that's why I wanted them to talk, because now you can hear like, oh, wow, parents can make their checklist, right? Kind of like, okay, I need to watch for this. I need to watch for that. Like, because at some point there should be a level, even with teachers. This is why I think we saw such an exit in the pandemic of teachers. They were burnt out and things of that nature. But you also have a lot of teachers who they do not have the experience. They have book knowledge, but they do not have the skill set to go into the classroom. Your book knowledge, educator, is not the same as you going in the classroom and actually having to deal with people, deal with you, children. And so this is where we see this breakdown, because they don't know how to do it. And like you said, young, 30, right? And now why are we going back? It's almost like a test of the wheels. Yeah. You know what I mean? When it doesn't have to be that. Because you still have to do in order to be an educator, whatever age, right? Through high school, you still have to have a nurturing aspect to you. Yeah. So did you okay, so that was Catholic, but what about the Christian private?
Because that was
11th grade.
Yeah.
It was rough.
I didn't even talk about high school, because that was Catholic too. It was so crazy.
That was horrible.
Even if you're like, I literally would be like, hey, I'm Christian. I don't know anything about this. And it was just like a thing of like, too bad, go break bread. And it was like, oh, because it's like, you could obviously like kneel at like the pews and stuff like that, or just not get up for communion. But it was also a thing of like, they wanted you to stand and recite certain things.
Yeah, I didn't let y'all go to school I would let you all stay home on purpose.
Yeah.
Parents, you got to give yourself your children. You don't put your children in damaging situations if you can help it. You know what I mean? Like, I knew you all were in a Catholic school, but we were Christian, like you said, right? So I'm not going to make them go on, what was that day? When they laid the statue, the flowers at Mary. Mary's
she has her own day.
Yeah.
Which, again, no disrespect to them.
But that's not what we
but that's not what we did. And it's like, what am I supposed to do? And it's like, I got like, it was like certain instances where I would get looks crazy because I don't know how to pray on the rosary. I don't even know. Like, it's like, oh, this is how you pray on the rosary. I don't know. And it's no disrespect to y'all. I was like, I just don't get it. I don't understand. And there's like no amount of teaching. I was like, and you obviously not saying it, but like there was no class dedicated to that. However, high school I had theology. Theology was the worst thing ever, because it was just like, and then I think I failed it and I had to take it again.
Oh, you did fail.
And it was like, cool. And obviously it's like theology is important to them. However, it was like, why? And I asked this, I was like, why am I taking a class that I will not understand? I was like, you're expressing it to me. Mind you, it was the two least favorite things ever. It was history. It was one part history and then another part like religion that I don't understand. And it felt like as if they were pushing it on me. And it was like, okay.
Yeah.
Not only do you make me wear a cardigan, I'm doing it by choice now, but it's like, not only am I wearing a cardigan, slacks, Sperry's, and a polo shirt, and occasionally a tie, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, not only are you forcing me to wear these things every day, come here on time every day, if not, then it's something else. But like, it was also like, hey, you have to know this. And it's just, I think that's what really got me.
I'm sorry.
You didn't know they were going to teach me theology. That's not your
I
fault.
did not.
But it's
not
like,
there.
even though we told them, we were like, I don't know. Is there an alternative? And there wasn't an alternative. And it's like, why is there not an alternative? I know that there were a lot of people can I say that name?
No.
Okay. Yeah. But it's like, you know that there are people who are coming here who don't have any religion at all. So why are we why is it, hey, this is theology, you have to take it to get to this next part, which I find very funny because it's not like it's college. It's not like you have a prerequisite because of this. This is your major. You need this prerequisite in order to get here. That's not what was going on.
But that's even how they marketed it.
It's college prep. It's college preparatory classes.
Absolutely.
But it's like, why are you prepping us for something that we might not even go into?
Right.
And it's like, and they didn't care about that either, which is like, again, it's disassociative because it's like, you didn't care. Like, it's college preparatory classes, but I never found the question being asked, what are you most interested in? Like, what do you want to go into? You had a couple teachers who were like, who cared enough to be like, well, what do you want to do? When I took my photography class, she cared enough to be like, is this something you want to do? And I'm like,
oh yeah, you did a great job.
And I love photography.
I remember that.
I loved it because it was like, my hands are on the camera. I'm in film now, obviously. So it's like, that shaped me because there was a conversation there.
I get what you're saying. The conversation was there from the teacher.
Yeah.
Which is what, right. That's what we should be doing, is nurturing you all and helping to push you into
a direction.
Yeah, a direction.
And it was just like, there was none of that. Like, I would literally, I got into a routine. There was a routine with public school, but there was also a freedom with public school because they didn't care. There was no freedom with private school, especially Catholicism, because it was always, no, you're being or no this, no that, you're being watched, don't forget, and it's like, okay, I don't know what that's about. And then going into Christian school, going into a Christian private school, I was so relieved because it was like, yeah, I'm learning, like, there was a Bible class. And while, yes, sometimes I was like, okay, I'm not in the mood for this because of who was teaching, I knew it because of them. I knew it because of you and Dad, because I've heard it before. And I heard it. So I'm like, oh, slow to speak, slow to speak, quick to listen. And now it was something like that I would hear. I'm like, I know that. So I'm nailing Bible quizzes and tests. It was easy. It was so easy. Because it was like, I got it now. I get it now. And it was like, I have no excuse here because it was like, it was stuff that I knew. It was stuff that I heard. And if I failed it, it was just because I wasn't paying attention.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
So it was like,
so out of them all for you.
And it was community too, I think.
Yeah. It was a great community.
Catholicism is so judgy. At least the private Catholic schools, it's so judgmental.
Right.
I didn't feel judged going to a Christian private school.
Okay.
I'm sure there were some teachers that I could tell obviously had their personal biases because they were a little older, and it was like they had their own way of thinking, which go ahead. But it was less of it, I want to say. It was a lot less of it.
Got it.
And there was Black people. There was Black people. There was a lot of white people. But, it was Black people.
So you are hilarious. This is who he is. So yeah, that video's still coming out. For you, so out of all of them, it would, in regards to, before going off to college, you would say the Christian private.
I had the best experience at the Christian private school.
Okay. How about you?
I would say so too. It's what I liked about the Christian private school was the fact that at the middle school, you didn't really get a choice in what classes you took, everybody, like, since it was so uniform, everybody was taking the same class. Everybody was always together. You were always, so like, yeah, you built like this close knit bond with the class you were in, but you didn't really get to break off. You didn't really get to like experience, like, you never broke away from the pact. You were always doing what everybody else was doing. And so because of that, you never really got to explore where you wanted to go and what you really wanted out of your own education. You didn't really get that like kind of thought. But high school kind of opened that up to the possibility. I especially liked in senior year where you got to like select like your math course. You got to select like technology, or if you wanted to take like another religion class, or like what kind of English you wanted to take, in like very like small ways. It's not as open as something like college, but that little bit more of freedom kind of gave way to being able to like just explore what you want to do. Just like,
oh yeah, high school does have that, but they have more. You once you've met the criteria for graduation, then you have more options.
Yeah.
But I still heard what you were saying in regards to elementary and middle, that it should have been somebody pushing you, helping you, and that type of thing.
Like choice there, but there kind of wasn't. And like stuff like the Scantron testing and everything.
Oh, don't even
I forgot about Scantron.
Yeah, Scantron, this has been my biggest thing with education is that we as educators, and now I am in a public school setting right now, but I think it's so disturbing that we are allowed and expected to differentiate lesson plans, right? But the test that they're giving you all is not, there's no differentiating it. And it's like, what is going on with our school system? And that's why, public was never really one of my options for you all. I loved homeschooling, and I love the fact that I was able to put you all in private school because it charted the way for you all, to me. And you want your children, again, I always say that with Little Learners on the Go, and just as an advocate for children, and you want your child to be healthy and whole. And I just don't think that our school system always allots for that. And so teachers, this is why we need to do our jobs, to make it engaging. But when it comes to those tests, that's been an issue for a very long time. And I just think that it's a travesty because there's more than one way. Like you were saying, if you were standing as opposed to sitting, but you're retaining the information, right? Even if you're sharing a book, you're still retaining the information. Yeah. There's more than one way to get for children to learn. And we know this, you have your visual learner, your kinesthetic learner. So it's important to give your child those opportunities. And so I just wanted you all to hear it from these two right here, these two guys, these are my bodyguards. But I just appreciate you all doing this segment with me. And parents, I hope that this helps you as you continue to navigate raising your child.